Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week, I checked out Kung Fu Games, and this 2024 film was directed by Ryan Jaeger and stars Mark Strange, Caitlin Dechelle, and Jade Shu, among others, of course. The story of this movie is that there's this group of Kung Fu masters, and they wake up just seemingly in a crashing plane, and so it crash lands. And then the door opens up onto a sound stage. And so they go out there and they're immediately attacked by a bunch of ninja-esque guys. And so they have to do all this fighting. And then they escape that sound set into a small safe room. And there's a timer, so they get a little break. And then once the timer, counts down to 0, the door opens and they go into another room and gotta fight some more guys and then get into another safe room, and then it just kind of repeats from there. It's kind of like Saw, or what's another movie, like The Cube, I would say, where they just kind of have to figure out what's going on. And yeah, that's just kind of the movie. So what will happen? Well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. All right, so let's discuss this film. Well, with this one, I kind of pressed play on this one because it was made by a production company that made another movie I recently watched called Lady Scorpions. And I thought that one was really good. So, of course, I wanted to press play on this one. And with that being said, they have lots of, kung fu fights in this one. It certainly does not disappoint on that side. They aren't as well choreographed, I think, as in Lady Scorpions, but they're certainly, I think, serviceable for what they're trying to do. And so every room, they have a fight, and it's just fight after fight after fight. They even just kind of bypass some fights, the door opens, they walk in, and then it's a hard cut to the door opening, and then they walk into the safe room. And so there's even fights they just cut out, and it's just so many different fights. So if you are just looking for kung fu action, this one certainly has it for you. In addition, with this one, the story is just so simple, but they have this B storyline about the man kind of making this game or creating this game and why he's doing that and how that kind of works out for him. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So I did enjoy that one as well. So there is certainly, some story to be had here. It's certainly going to be a simple story, a silly story, but ultimately something that you can certainly, watch and be entertained by. So that is good. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, certainly the storyline itself is just really kind of dumb and silly and just really kind of nonsensical when it, is all kind of ended. So it's just a vehicle, I would say, for having kung fu fights. They just want to have kung fu fights in a movie. They could have a tournament, they could have this or that, but instead they have this Saw-esque game for these kung fu fighters. And it's just really just for kung fu fights. So you can turn your brain off because the story doesn't matter, whatever. It's really just about having kung fu fights. And that's really all it's for. So nothing against it, I guess, but yeah, the story is really dumb. Other than that, with this movie, it's really just a vehicle for fights, as mentioned before. And so the acting is, let's just say it's not strong. I would say it's actually kind of on the weaker side. And so they are there for just, the kung fu fights, and you gotta get, kung fu masters. I think a few of them, have lots of experience with, martial arts and whatnot. And so they do, an okay job with that fighting and stuff, but just the acting is a little bit on the weak side. But for a movie like this, where it is just about the fights and having fights and showing fights, you don't necessarily have to have the strongest acting. As for a recommendation, well, if you're looking for kung fu fights, that's what this one's got. So that's really kind of the only, I think, attraction for this one. They're not the strongest kung fu fights I've ever seen, but certainly not the worst. I've seen way worse. They're very serviceable in this one. So if you're looking for, just a kung fu movie, then this is one you can press play on. As for a rating, well, I thought this movie was very meh. I even said that, at the end too. I was just meh, it was okay, I guess. And so I'm going to give it the 3.4. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.